Start your wellness journey at Whole Foods Market, where it's Jumpstart January through the 16th. Stock up on supplements with some of the year's biggest savings. Plus, save on air-chilled organic boneless skinless chicken breasts, organic Honeycrisp apples, organic large Hass avocados, and more. And since Whole Foods Market is the only certified organic national grocer, it's easy to make them your wellness destination. Jumpstart your January now at Whole Foods Market.
Hi, this is Mike with Rogue Media Network. As Texas opens back up, some of our shows have chosen to continue to record from remote locations. Some of our other shows have started recording in studio with very few people observing social distancing. Thanks for listening, and please be safe. This is Central Texas Living with Ann Harder.
We have been staying at home for weeks, and that means more cooking than some of us have done in a long time. Joining me now, Chef Michael Osborne, well known to many for his years working at HEB's Cooking Connection. That was a while back.
Yeah, it was a little while ago.
Then training at the CIA in New York, and that's not to be a spy.
No, it's to be a cook.
A cook, yeah. The Culinary Institute of America, correct?
Yeah.
And now you're sharing your knowledge with university high school students. I just think that is amazing. I want to start off talking about that. Ozzy. Of course, I've always called you Ozzy.
Well, you can continue to call me that.
Okay. Well, it's just so wonderful to see you in the context of high school students, because in my mind, you're still that crazy high school student I used to know. But now you're a little bit on the receiving end from these students.
Oh, yeah. I'm paying for my raising,
Well, it's just remarkable what has happened with the culinary arts program at University High. Let's talk about that.
Well, this is our third year, my third year. It's the first time that they actually hired actual chefs to come in and teach the culinary program at university. Before that, they'd had a string of like home ec type teachers. And it's such a beautiful facility at that new high school. I mean, I've got a full-blown restaurant kitchen. I've got 4 6-burner gas stoves, huge vent-a-hood system. I got a couple of stacked convection ovens. I got a big steamer unit. I've got a tilt skillet that I can make 40 gallons of gumbo at a time if I want to. So I mean, we've got all the gear that pretty consistent with industry standards, and probably better than what most restaurants would have, frankly. But
so how many students do you have involved in the program?
Well, it's a 4-year program.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
So they come in as freshmen. They do an intro course, and then move on up, and then culminating in the 4th year with what we call a practicum class. So all told, we've got about 250 kids.
Oh my goodness!
Spread out between 3 instructors. So we have an intro teacher that handles most of the 9th graders. Erica Harder is her name, and she comes from a good, solid food science background. And then for the more advanced courses, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year, those duties are split between me and Chef Rhiannon Ruark. And Rhiannon is one heck of a good chef. She is really something.
And you cover all the bases, baking.
Yeah. And that's the baking end of it. Really is a spot where Rhiannon shines. She's a tremendous baker, and she'll tell you. I mean, she'll say, I want to be on the line. I'm a hot food girl. And but she just happens to be very talented as a baker, and her desserts are just like crazy cool.
And you have even been able to now use these students, and they're catering. They're actually doing paid jobs. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that. How that all came about.
Well, opportunities just started kind of falling in our laps, and first year we said no more often than we said yes, because we were just trying to get the program built, and and get some curriculum in place and so forth. But the last 2 years, just anything that came along, we said, well, heck yeah, well, we're going to do it. So the administration has been good about feeding us some things that we can tackle that are sort of within the school district needs. But also some outside stuff too has come along, and so that's been real rewarding and challenging for the kids. But boy, I tell you, I mean, at every turn they've just proved to be up to the challenge and really able to crank out some top quality food. I mean, it's been real satisfying.
It's
to
amazing
see.
real world experience
Yeah.
that they're getting. And I understand you have a student who graduated from university and went straight to New York, right? For the
Well,
is that what happened?
I think that's kind of been on hold.
Oh, okay.
I think they ran into some financial difficulties.
Yeah, it's a very expensive program,
Yeah.
as you well know.
Don't I know?
Let's talk about that. I love talking to folks who've kind of reinvented their lives. You didn't always know you wanted to be a chef, right?
Well, I really got interested in it about 30 years ago. I had just gone through a divorce. My ex-wife was a great cook. She'd learned how to cook at the apron strings of her West Texas grandmother on this farm, out close to Lubbock, and she knew how to make the kind of stuff guys like to eat, and So after we split up, I mean, I ate out for about 6 months maybe, and then I was really getting old, and I just came to the realization that if I wanted to continue to eat like I was used to eating, I better learn how. So that's really what prompted it. And the more I got in the kitchen and did, the more I wanted to do. And it wasn't just a couple of years of actively being a home cook that I decided, well, I think I'm ready to go pro. And so the first real cooking job for me was, you mentioned earlier, the Cooking Connection at HEB.
At HEB,
Mm-hmm. And that was in the very early stages of the development of that whole Cooking Connection deal. So now there's several hundred of them in the state. But when I started with them, there were two. There was one in Waco and one in Round Rock, and so I was working there at HEB and had a lot of great FaceTime with all the shoppers that came through that store, and
Everybody in the world.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
You see
yeah.
at HEB.
and that led into my dinner party catering
Sure.
business, and I was able to really get that going and get that developed, and until it was going great guns until the recession in 2008, and gosh, my catering phone quit ringing, and I was also in the advertising business at that time, and my ad revenues dropped to next to nothing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Just going broke. And so one night, my lady friend Carrie, we were sitting around wringing our hands, what to do, and she said, well, what do you really want to do? And I told her, well, if I had any sense, the economy's going to be in the toilet basically for the foreseeable future. If I had any sense, I'd just take this time and go back to school, And you and I were at Baylor at the same time.
Sure, yeah.
And we were both faculty brats.
Mm-hmm.
And I had always regretted never finishing my degree at Baylor, and just that ate at me all those years. And so I told Carrie I'd like to go back to school. Where you want to go? I said, well, the CIA is the best cooking school in the world. And I said, there's no way they'd take me.
Yeah, you were pushing 50, right?
Oh, yeah. Over 50.
Yeah.
And I'm too old. She said, well, wait a minute. Let's just see. So she starts Googling stuff up, and I started filling stuff out and mailing stuff in and writing this essay and that essay. And, next thing you know, I got accepted. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And, so then the big question was, how are you going to pay for it? So I started filling out my FAFSA. You remember FAFSA?
Oh, yeah, and the cost is about like going to Baylor, right?
Well,
Maybe more. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's not an inexpensive place to study.
It's not. But as it turned out, my tax return was so bad from the the recession.
Times being bad.
Yeah, I qualified for a lot of stuff. So it turned out at every turn it was doable, and I think one thing that really set me apart was I was very aggressive about going after scholarships. And basically all you had to do was write an essay and fill a little stuff out and mail it in. And, we were very fortunate, Ann, when we were in high school to have some great English teachers.
Yes, we were.
And I had a couple of them in particular, Sharon Mansfield and Mary Fidel.
That's right.
That really taught us how to write.
Yeah, they did.
And so what that did for me was it got me about $55,000 in scholarships that helped me get through school.
Okay, let's go to New York now. What was that whole experience like? Did you have a preconceived notion of what it was going to be like to study? I think Julia Child and that kind of thing, because that's the vision that comes to my mind.
Well, the place is absolutely stunningly gorgeous. The campus is on the banks of the Hudson River. Incredible views from every window. The way the campus is landscaped is just crazy cool. It's all landscaped in edibles.
Oh,
so
you're using it.
Yeah, so you might walk by and see some gorgeous little bitty strawberries, and you just stop, and it's all organic, and you just pluck one and just pop it in your mouth, and just bursts with flavor, and best strawberry you ever tasted. But it's a lot like Hogwarts. All these little hidden staircases and hallways and stuff. It's just that's really what a lot of people comes to mind immediately when they take a tour of the place. But gorgeous campus, and I had been there in 1999, and eaten in one of the restaurants there on campus, and I never imagined that 10 years later I'd be enrolled there. But life's kind of funny how it works out.
Well, it is, and that I just love hearing these kinds of stories. You, though, come out of a program like that, you could be an executive chef anywhere, and yet you chose to come back to Central Texas.
Yeah, I had I got to be honest with you. I probably was not destined to be an executive chef in a restaurant, but there's all different sorts of career paths that you can pursue with a culinary background, and I'm living proof of that. I've done private chef gigs, and cooked at ritzy fish and hunting camps and ranches in South Texas, and doing the dinner party thing, and doing restaurant consulting, and being a demo chef and a teacher. But my experience there at the CIA, just a couple of quick things. The first thing that I decided I would do when I got there was to put everything that I thought I knew kind of on the back shelf, and put on the blinders and learn it their way. And I think if you can adopt that attitude, all you're going to do, you're going to learn something useful pretty much every day, and that's what I did. And every day was just a blast. I mean, some of the finest chefs in the world for instructors, and great restaurants there to work in and practice your craft and build it up. And so at the CIA, you can do a 2-year associate's degree, and that covers all of the cooking and a little bit of business and some background in wine and so forth. And but I chose to go the bachelor's path, and so ended up with a bachelor's degree, 4-year degree from the CIA. So technically it'd be a degree in restaurant management. I had a pretty big emphasis on spirits and wine, while I was there. So really kind of concentrated on that some too.
Yeah, we chatted about that a couple of days ago, about your spirits class you took.
Yeah, you can imagine a college class where you're sitting down and you're taking tastes of 8 different vodkas. Now it's kind of swish and spit, but yeah. So I made a wrong turn in Poughkeepsie, New York, and got pulled right after class. I was trying to get into a grocery store parking lot, and and a Poughkeepsie cop,
he could
pulled
smell
me up.
something on your
Oh breath. yeah. He got me out and put me through the paces, and had me standing on one foot and saying the alphabet backwards and all kind of stuff. And I kept telling him, I said, "You're really not going to believe this, but I've just come from class."
And I didn't swallow.
Yeah, I did. I spit. I promise you, I spit.
Oh, man, so much fun. Well, you have been doing some videos, which I've thoroughly enjoyed, about how to use the leftovers. We're trying to be frugal and not make a lot of trips to the store and all that. And there's nothing worse than throwing away good food. And so let's talk a little bit about your videos that you're starting to do. Okay.
Well, with all of our, being homebound, so to speak, through this coronavirus deal, I don't know. I just kind of was bored and thinking, well, I need to be listening to some more music. So I went back to some of my old favorite Texas songwriters, and one of them is a guy named Guy Clark. And Guy Clark had this old song called "Stuff That Works." And so I was listening to that song. There was a line in there. He's talking about this, his favorite shirt, and then this one line he talks about, "I got an old pair of boots that fits just right, and I can work all day and I can dance all night." And so I gave those lyrics a real hard listen. And the song is about things that last, things that you can rely on, relationships that you can rely on, and how important that is to our lives. And I got to thinking, well, you know what? That's kind of what I'm trying to do with this cooking deal. I mean, I wanted to do a series of little cooking videos that, frankly, the school kids could watch. And, just kind of remind them of some things that we had done in class and encourage them to cook at home and so forth. But I started popping it out on my little Facebook page, and the thing just started kind of taking off. And but that's the undercurrent for every one of them that I do. These are real simple preparations, but it's stuff that I know that works, And,
well, they're great. Can anyone go and access these?
Well, I guess.
Friend you or something?
Friend me. Friend me. Now, I am kind of working on that. I'm told that if I...
Oh, you don't have you need a professional page?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, well, if
like
you have
a business
one,
page.
Right, yeah. Then that's where to put
And then
them.
I can make it public.
And would you call it Chef Oz? Or?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's
Chef
cool.
Oz Cooks.
Chef Oz Cooks.
Something like that.
Oh, well, it's delightful to get to talk to you and hear your story. I like to end these with some questions that were made famous on the show Inside the Actor's Studio. You remember that? James Lipton?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he always had these great little questions, so I'm going to pop these off of you. What's your favorite word?
Insouciant.
That's a good one.
Yeah, not bad.
Oh, meaning? You're going to have to tell me.
Sassy.
Okay, there you are. Your least favorite word?
Well, I was going to say moist, but I think a lot of people have already glommed onto that one. I like moist.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not a least favorite word.
I think in the proper context, almost every word is fair game.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Man, that whole creativity deal, it's just like, where does it come from? Where do you get inspiration? I mean, I tell you where I've gotten a lot of my inspiration, cooking-wise, is from old food memories. And I'll give you a good example. We were participating in the March of Dimes fundraiser last fall, and so we had to put out 3 or 4 different little things, and we ended up getting the best chef, the top dish award for that competition.
Oh, yes, right. I know the fundraiser you're talking
about.
Yeah.
And so the little piece that we put out there was inspired by a place where we used to eat lunch when we were at Richfield High School, almost 50 years ago, a place called Nally's.
Oh, yeah.
And Nally's had this great little steak finger basket.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh, gosh, yeah.
Yeah. So I got to thinking, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could take that whole steak finger basket? They always had a little cream gravy and a nice little strip of chicken fried steak and some French fries. We could just turn all that into one bite. So Rhiannon and Ruark and I, we could put our heads together and say, well, let's take this, see what we can do. So we ended up flattening out some USDA choice ribeye and cutting it into little squares, and then chicken frying that. And then we hollowed out new potatoes that we'd roasted and, turned those into a little gravy boat. And then, had a little square of chicken fried steak sticking out of that. And then we got little Yukon Gold potatoes and cut them up little bitty and French fried them, So we had a little nest of French fries coming up. And then we jacked up some ketchup with some chipotle and, did a little squirt of that over the top. It was just a dumb little deal, but
it sounds amazing, though.
It was great. And, just kind of brings back, but.
Yeah, I was just over in that neighborhood where that used to be. Oh, my gosh. What sound do you most love?
I like the sizzle of bacon.
Mm-hmm. That does not surprise me. What sound do you hate?
I hate the sound of dogs barking when it's about 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What other profession would you want to try?
I'd like to be a history professor.
You could do that. What job do you know you wouldn't want?
I don't think I'd be a very good accountant.
What do you want to hear God say when you enter the pearly gates, Mike?
The kitchen's to the right.
Love it. Ozzy, thank you so much. Thank you. And how can folks see some of your videos?
My actual name, other than Ozzy or Chef Oz, is Michael Clinton Osborne.
Yeah, just go on Facebook.
So go on Facebook, friend me, I'll friend you back.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
It was fun.
It is fun. Always a pleasure to see you.
Start your wellness journey at Whole Foods Market, where it's Jumpstart January through the 16th. Stock up on supplements with some of the year's biggest savings. Plus, save on air-chilled organic boneless skinless chicken breasts, organic Honeycrisp apples, organic large Hass avocados, and more. And since Whole Foods Market is the only certified organic national grocer, it's easy to make them your wellness destination. Jumpstart your January now at Whole Foods Market.
What's the one thing people always say they wish they still had after a disaster or fire? Photographs. Revision Photo Restoration is dedicated to helping preserve and restore your memories. Take advantage of this extra time you have at home to go through those old boxes of photos. If you're feeling overwhelmed by the process, follow them on Pinterest for organizational tips and tricks for old photos. They have on-site fire and weatherproof storage facilities to ensure the safety of your images, so you don't have to ship off all your memories to a larger company. Revision can handle everything from slides and negatives to film and prints. Revision Photo Restoration is local to Waco and located at 2001 Franklin Avenue. Call 254-297-9754 for an appointment or instructions on how to send in files digitally. Revision Photo Restoration. Check them out on Instagram at Revision Photo.
After the shutdown, the Dr. Pepper Museum is back open to the public. Joining me now, Mary Beth Farrell, who's the Director of Development and Communications at the museum and Free Enterprise Institute. Glad to have you here.
Thank you, Anne. Hello.
It's great to have things open again. Were you surprised at how did it sneak up on you a little bit?
It did a little bit, yes. We were surprised that museums and libraries were included in the first phase, but obviously thrilled to be able to bring our staff back to the offices and get the museum back open to the public.
Well, of course, the Dr. Pepper Museum is such an important part of Waco history. Dr. Pepper, it's just, you just don't think of Waco without Dr. Pepper. The museum, though, really hasn't been around all that long.
Right. The museum is turning 29 this year. But of course, the building that the museum is housed in has been around since 1906 and was the original plant built specifically for bottling Dr. Pepper. So we're in our historic building, but we're celebrating 29 years as an organization.
And of course, the opening then 29 years ago was on the anniversary of the 1953 tornado.
Correct.
And the reasoning for that?
Well, the tornado obviously had an incredibly significant impact in Waco and specifically downtown. And the museum building, the bottling plant building, was significantly damaged in the tornado. And I think that event kind of shaped, the history of that specific building, of Dr. Pepper, and the people who created the museum were a group of local people who very much wanted to preserve that building. And that event just seemed very poignant to them. And I think also their goal of opening it on that day was to give the city something happy to celebrate on that day instead of, we always, of course, honor the victims of the tornado and talk about that, but we all like to have something fun to celebrate on that day too.
Well, it's just so cool to be able to go in that building. I grew up, driving by it and would see this old, and to have it be used in such a great way. Educationally, so many visitors to Waco are able to learn more about Dr. Pepper and its impact.
Yeah, there are always lots of fun challenges with being in a historic building. And actually, both of our buildings are historic buildings. The other building is even older. It was built in 1882 as a wholesale grocery company. So we actually are in two of the oldest buildings in downtown, and especially on that little kind of block area. So lots of fun old building stuff happens, like leaks and, creaks in the floor and stuff like that. But people getting to come in that building is one of the things people love the most. And we have been doing a ton of work over the last year to open up spaces and help give people more of an immersive experience, to help them feel what it would have been like in that building when it was a bottling plant. Because it was just a giant open space. We have lots of little divided areas for exhibits, but that's not how it was. Those are put in by us for exhibits. It was really just one giant bottling room. So,
well, and a lot of people may not understand this, and that's that the Dr. Pepper Bottling Company has nothing to do with the museum, at least financially, right? Or do they give you any money? You would think they'd give you some money.
Right. So Keurig Dr. Pepper, which is the name of the Dr. Pepper company,
Sure.
now their parent company name, they do not own us or operate the museum. However, we are great partners with them. So our kind of daily donations that we get from the public that come in, those are matched dollar for dollar by Keurig Dr. Pepper up to $100,000 each year. It's called our challenge grant. So they view us as a philanthropic cause that they give to in that way. We also work with our local distributors to get donations of product for different events or different things we have going on. And we work with them closely to get all of our product at good pricing and things like that. So we are grateful to them in a lot of different ways for the support they give us. And we also house their corporate collection. So they view us as the keepers of the history. And that's another way we partner with them. So if they need, a logo or an object for a film, or if they're licensing something, to sell at Target or something like that, they will coordinate with us on making sure things are historically accurate.
Well, yeah, a repository of the history of Dr. Pepper, the oldest soft drink, right? That's continually
the nation's oldest major soft drink. That's right.
That's been bottled. Of course, I'm a Waco gal, and so you just grow up drinking Dr. Pepper. I was on your website and looking at one of the videos there. One of your colleagues is from Michigan, and she was talking about,
yes.
I'd never heard of this as like a ginger ale.
Verner's ginger ale.
Verner's
yes.
ginger ale, which is a part of the company brand now with Keurig, but never heard of it before. But she grew up with that, and that's just how we are with those favorite foods and beverages that we kind of grow up with.
And she brought Verner's in, and you can get it when she goes home to Michigan, and so she brought it in for all of us to try, and it was a lot of us had never tried it before. And then it was funny because knowing that, I was watching Parks and Recreation, which takes place in Indiana, and they had a Verner's ginger ale vending machine in their courtyard, and I was just like, how funny. Like, I thought it was a great little tidbit. Like, I never would have noticed that until she kind of introduced us to that. So lots of fun regional soda things people really, really love.
Well, the museum, it's great that you've opened back up again to the public, and you're getting a trickle of folks coming in. But it's not as hands-on as, say, the Mabern Museum with kids, handling blocks and all that kind of stuff. So that does make it a little bit maybe easier for you guys to keep things sanitized. And what extra lengths are you going through?
Yeah, so before the spring break crowds got here, which we did have about a week of those crowds before we shut down, we had already been, knowing that extra sanitation measures and just safety things for our staff and visitors were needing to be put in place. And so we actually have been doing really heightened sanitizing measures throughout the building, both during the day when visitors are there and after hours, to get ready for the next day since the beginning of March. So our facility staff continued those measures, and we've been deep cleaning the buildings and taking the time shut down as an opportunity to refresh some of our exhibits, do some things like that we've wanted to do for a while. So that's great. And we can't have our interactive exhibits out on the floor right now, but unlike a children's museum or something, yes, we are able to continue on with the kind of bulk of our content because we're a history museum. So we've been doing a lot of work over the last 2 weeks to make we have a lot of video interactive exhibits because Dr. Pepper commercials are some of people's favorite things
10,
to
2, and
see.
4,
That's
yeah.
right.
I'm a pepper, you're a pepper. Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too? Yeah.
So usually our commercial exhibit, for example, you press buttons to hear different eras of commercials. So now no more buttons. We just merged everything into one continuous video that plays on a loop so people can stand there and enjoy it for as long as they want to. Yeah. So it might take a little bit more patience to get to the commercial you for sure want to see, but all the content's still there. You can just kind of get to it in different ways.
Very good. Well, you do have a fundraising effort, though, because it is a nonprofit, and so tell me about that. This is in relation to the 29th anniversary, right?
Yes. So our birthday event every year is usually one of our highest visitation days. We usually have about 2,000 people come through in one day, which for us is a big day.
Yes, 2,000 people, my goodness. Yeah.
And we always throw it back to the original museum admission price, which is $2 for everybody. And then we also use that day as an extra opportunity to ask for donations. And so since we can't have as many people there this year, we can't do it the way we normally do. We have kind of come up with a fundraising opportunity this year to help us kind of recover those funds that we would have made if we'd been able to be open to the public like normal. So people can purchase we're calling it a virtual admission ticket donation, and people can give $2, they can give $4, $10. Those are, of course, 10 and 4 are the traditional Dr. Pepper donation amounts, obviously. And there are also options for more if people are able to be more generous. And everybody who donates, though, gets a $2 voucher to come back to the museum. So $2 off your admission when you come back to the museum, and a great exclusive discount code in our gift shop. So.
Very good. Yeah, I mean, you've had to be creative about how to.
Everybody has. Yeah, It's been so fun to see everything everybody's doing. So.
Have to be light on your feet, but that those needs for funds don't end for sure.
And this year specifically for the birthday event, we are trying to raise $10,000. So it's a lofty goal, but we are going to be putting out a lot of different social media posts and things like that in the next few days, and then we will be extending it on and throughout the entire week after the birthday event.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Well, I want to talk a little bit about you. Are you from this area? What brought you to the Dr. Pepper Museum? Is this working in this kind of environment something you've always known you wanted to be doing?
Oh, okay. Yes, I came to Waco to go to Baylor. I was a transfer student, and my parents' kind of deal with me was that if I stayed home the first 2 years, I could go anywhere I wanted to. And I wanted to do the museum studies program.
Did you really?
At Baylor, yes.
Yeah.
So that was my dream from high school, was to work in a museum. And I started out, I was just working at a law office in my hometown, just doing filing and stuff like that. And when I moved to Waco to go to Baylor, I was like, I want to work in a museum. And of course, if you're coming to Waco to go to Baylor, to me, the most fun museum you could work in would be the Dr. Pepper Museum.
Sure.
I love pop culture, no pun intended. I love kind of...
We don't call it pop, though. And maybe in Michigan they call it pop, but not here.
So I just love that. And
That's
so I always joke that I kind of just bugged them until they gave me a job. And I started out, in the back of the collections room, putting numbers on the bottoms of old bottles. And then...
I bet people find old bottles of Dr. Pepper and bring them there. Are you kind of a repository when people garage sale or whatever go, oh, look, I found a...
Absolutely, yes. Our entire collection is made up of donations. We very, very rarely seek out specific items. Usually if we need a specific item for an exhibit or something, it's brought to us on loan from a collector who we're have a good relationship with. But no, we rely on donations. People are always finding old bottles or old signs or things like that and calling us about it.
Well, when folks come to the museum, what is the one thing you want them to have as a takeaway? And I'm not talking about a Dr. Pepper float, and that's always a good thing.
It's very important, yes.
A good
Very
thing
important.
to take away. But what is it you want them to really feel?
I mean, in general, I hope people walk away with some nostalgia and just, it's supposed to be a fun place. It's
Oh yeah,
fun memories. And other than that, I definitely hope people take away that we're a nonprofit organization. We are a small history museum. We're just telling the story of the whole soft drink industry, not just Dr. Pepper. We use Dr. Pepper as our main example because of all the reasons we talked about with, why we're in Waco and our building and everything. But we talk about the whole soft drink industry. And, we also use that as our educational tool when we talk to school kids or school groups about free enterprise and entrepreneurship. We use the soft drink industry as an example. So
yes, because we haven't even touched on this yet, and that is the Free Enterprise Institute that's there, a part of the campus, I guess, if you will.
Exactly. It's not a specifically physical location. It's more of the theory behind our educational mission.
Mm-hmm.
We have a very robust school program operation that we do every year. And this year we were very sad because normally our busiest month for school groups is April. So we missed out on seeing all of those students this year, which we were very sad about. But yeah, so we try to tie in that idea of entrepreneurship into all of our exhibits. And then that comes to the forefront when we're doing our programs with our school kids. The most popular program that teaches this is our Create a Soft Drink program, where the kids actually get to create their own soft drink, come up with a name, a logo, a slogan, marketing. So they have a great time doing that.
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah, what a great teaching tool that is. Well, we're almost at the end of our time, but I always like to end these interviews with some questions that based on really it was a TV show I used to watch years ago, Inside the Actor's Studio with James Lipton. You probably
no.
I'm surprised you'd even know.
I know
You're
exactly
so
what
young.
you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, these are some of the questions. Is my version of it. What's your favorite word?
Oh man. I don't know if it's my favorite word, but I say situation all the time. That's how I describe everything. It's like, oh, it's, we got a birthday situation going on. That's how
It could be good or bad.
Right. So I don't know if that's my favorite word or more of like just a tick I have. But if I had to think of the word I probably overuse, that would be it.
What about your least favorite word?
Man, I don't know. I mean, it's not negativity, but something to do with being negative. I try to think of myself as a positive person, be a positive person, look on the bright side of things, which we've all had to do more of recently.
That's right.
But yeah, so probably something along those lines. Just
what turns you on creatively or spiritually or emotionally?
I really enjoy the process. I love digging down into the details and the nitty-gritty of a project that we're working on at work. I love work. I love the work that I do. I love going to work and being in that environment with my coworkers, and we have a very collaborative environment. So, just all of the little details that make a project happen are things that I really enjoy thinking about and focusing on, and get me excited about a project.
Well, you love your job, but what other profession would you like to have tried?
My sister and I always joke that we would have wanted to be like dermatologists or estheticians because that's like kind of our hobby, obsession, all of the videos on, YouTube and everything.
Well,
of,
you
like,
have a
skincare and stuff like that.
You have a gorgeous complexion. I
Thank you.
know this is like radio, but
Right.
yeah, you have beautiful skin.
She's
I'll
a lot
tell
younger
you.
than me, so I always joke with her that she could still do it. Go do it.
Go
I
do it.
have a career. I've been doing this for too long now. I can't switch, but she can do it.
Well, what job do you know you would not like to do?
I don't even know. I mean, I thought about being a teacher for a while. I mean, my sister was a teacher, my mom was a teacher, my husband's a teacher. I have lots of teachers in my family. And I even went through the whole program to become a teacher. But I think in the end, it was not what I was meant to do. Not that I wouldn't have like thrown myself into it and probably gotten a lot of enjoyment out of it, but I think I'm right where I need to be now.
Yeah, it sounds like you are right where you need to be. So last question, what do you want to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I think just that you did okay. I think I try to live a daily life of just, I always go back to this quote. It's from Sex and the City, but it always tickles me, is that be nice to people and chew with your mouth closed.
Words to live by.
I know. I always think of that. It's like, I feel like just kind of as people, the best you can do is just kind of do your best, so just that I would have done okay, I guess.
Oh, good. Well, let's tell everybody again how they can text maybe some donation to the Dr. Pepper Museum.
Yes. So over the next 2 weeks, you can text HBDDPM29 to 44321 to donate to the museum. There will be a form that it will direct you to where you can choose your donation amount, or you can just go to the museum's website, drpeppermuseum.com/HBD, which stands for Happy Birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yes, and those will be active, like I said, for a couple weeks. We'll still be accepting donations for that. And, the party is actually happening on Monday, May 11th, but the party will continue on even after that. So thank you to all of our supporters.
Yeah, and now you can drop by in person. So that's
absolutely.
The great news.
We want to see everybody.
Very good. Mary Beth, thank you so much. It's been fun.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Central Texas Living is part of the Rogue Media Network family. Be sure to check out their other shows at roguemedianetwork.com. Please rate us 5 stars on iTunes and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Join us again soon for more Central Texas Living, the podcast.
This has been Rogue Media Network Podcast.